Hi, this is Kevin Adams DeCamp.
And I'm Trevor Jetsons Dow.
And this is VTV,
the definitive podcast for all things LGBT travel, pop culture, and where we share diverse perspectives from members of our community. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
I'm very excited about today's episode.
Me too. It's a unique one.
Very unique. Today we are talking all about building queer families. And this wasn't a planned topic, and sometimes that's how families happen.
But not in these instances with the LGBT people deciding to have children is a very unique process, as we've come to discover, and also very challenging in some cases.
Yeah, 100%.
So I hope this episode helps showcase all the different ways and possibilities if you are interested in having a child, in queer parents. Hopefully this episode illuminates the opportunities you have.
I think there's something to be said about the people who do have children and exist in queer spaces and making sure that their kids grow up knowing that queer people are not scary.
Well, you're scary.
I mean, look at me. You know, like for those of you who have no interest in having children, that this offers kind of an insight into
what people go through.
Yeah, it's especially queer people. Trex has a child of their own, and Kevin and Aaron are now in the process of creating a family. I was very re-inspired by their stories that I actually am now in the process of being a donor for people who are having struggles starting a family. And a
sperm donor, as some call it.
Yeah. You know, what I learned recently is that sperm donation banks are actually very homophobic. You cannot donate if you are gay. When it comes to donating blood, there has been progress made on the front of some very archaic ideas.
Homophobic ideas, yeah.
Ideologies. We should applaud any kind of progress. And a guest of ours on a future episode, Zachary Zane, posted about this company called Seed Scout. And they are focused on helping queer families start families. I saw Zach talk about this company, and I immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of what I feel like I've been looking for. And they reached out to me because they saw my comment, and then we struck up a conversation. And this is like, you go through mental health exams, you go through therapists' interviews with the potential families. You can only be a donor for up to 3 potential families as well, instead of some of these banks, you know, they'll use the same person and that person will have 70 potential kids out in the world, and then they'll go internationally and use that same person, and it just feels more intentional. And they maintain a relationship and a connection. You're not just that donor. You get like a check-in every year, or if you become close with that family, you can kind of create your own boundaries of what that looks like. And I think that is what's so impactful about queer families and building queer families is it isn't just your typical structure of father, mother, kids, white picket fence. We get to decide what family looks like, just like we do with chosen family. And when it comes to biological families, there's a lot more at stake for queer people and a lot more hurdles. I think personally, we need more queer people to be raising children.
I'm coming to this interview as like a full spectator. I'll help raise a child in the realm of like a teacher mentorship kind of way, but I don't need what seems to be sought after from Trex and Aaron and Kevin and you even.
Yeah.
Fascinating to hear just how the journey goes.
Well, shall we get into the interview?
Let's listen to these baby journeys. Okay, I want to know a little bit of personal things about you because you are a mother.
I am a mother.
In more ways than one.
That's right, work. But yeah, I have a beautiful 2-year-old child. Their name is River, and they are just the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. I never planned on having a kid. It was not in my journey. I used to be married to a man, and I was like, absolutely not, never happening. And then I met my wife, well, ex-wife, and I finally felt safe enough to do it. And I had never felt that safety in a person before. So, because I know that no matter what we go through, like what we're going through now, we are always going to both be there and prioritize our child, their health and their safety. So
it's a beautiful community around that child too.
My God.
I'm sure.
This baby, so I worked here and next door at the Duplex, which is another gay bar in the city. And I worked there until I was 7 months pregnant. So I was like up there singing songs "When You're Good to Mama" with full belly.
Oh, amazing.
So that baby also is like familiar with great queer songs, great queer spaces, but then also like in the womb was being like taken care of by queer people all around them.
Oh, the minute I got out of the hospital, I mean, I had friends coming over. River was babysat by one of the biggest drag queens in the city, Ruby Roo. Like the entire West Village knows River, and the minute they walk into this area, everybody knows, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, River's here!" They really are a huge part of this community, which is amazing, and it makes me feel even more into the community that I have like built and also become a part of. It's a very lucky thing to be able to be not just at one bar here, but two, and to be seen and heard and have like met my people. It's something that comes up a lot for me.
Just as queer people in general, like the idea of having kids, there's so many things that go against us being able to do that, which worries me in the sense, in the long term of like who is raising the next generation. Like that's always in the back of my mind of like, how are we going to survive if the next generation is not surrounded and raised by people that are welcoming and
accepting.
accepting, you know, like, so then to have the courage to do it and then also have a community around you to help you do it is inspiring to say, okay, well, maybe it is possible and maybe it's not as scary as it might be.
Yeah, it's a blessing because personally, I have no contact with my family of origin. Most of them, I speak to one or two people in there. But leaning on the community that I've been so lucky to become a part of here has been the saving grace of my experience of parenthood, of life as I know it right now. And I mean, River's, baby shower was here. River's first birthday was in this room. Like there were 5-year-olds and 1-year-olds running around in the Stonewall Inn, and like that's never happened before. Like River calls the owner of the Stonewall Inn, his name is Kurt, but River calls him Pop Pop. Like it's just
that's pretty dope.
It's
He's
cool.
the coolest kid.
Yeah,
He's the coolest kid.
Truly, like
the coolest. Like to like have where you can walk on a street and know that every adult knows you and loves you, and like
and that's
everyone.
the way it should be.
Yeah,
And
it's real community.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that you've grown up in a scenario that seems to be in opposition to how you're raising River? Like how have you taken your experience and applied that to your now child?
I think I'm doing that's a great question.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing the exact opposite of what I was gifted as a child. I say gifted because I don't want to say anything worse. I was not raised in a home that was loving towards gay people.
Yeah.
Gay men, for some reason, were okay, but lesbians were not okay.
Really?
Very interesting. But they still all were going to hell.
Oh yeah.
They're still all going to hell. Yeah.
And how's the new heaven?
I
mean,
here we go.
Oh, I can relate to that too.
I know, yeah. It's rough. I grew up like really religious. When you see my sets, you'll hear like I do a lot of bits about my religious upbringing, and it was really rough. And going into contact with my mom, especially a few years ago, it was River was about 5 or 6 months old.
Wow.
She had met him once, and that was the only time I ever wanted them to meet. Eventually, they might meet again, but it's not anything that I'm trying to rush.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's affected how you raise River because you're like,
1,000%. Yeah. We work a lot on like boundaries, and even at this young age, River will be like, "Mommy, no thank you, no touching." And I'll be like, "Okay, thank you for saying that. Thank you for using your words and telling me what you don't want. And when you want a hug, I will give you a hug. And if you don't want it, that's okay too. Mommy's here for you anyway." And because they have that ability to say no when they don't want to, I find that River is incredibly affectionate and incredibly physically loving in the way that I am, because they have the ability to say no.
It's intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that just favors the genuine connection that you ideally want to have.
Yeah.
Not only with your kid, but that's then going to transpire to all the relationships that River has.
Yeah.
And the fact that through your upbringing that you're able to then do all of the unlearning that has to happen.
We're working.
So that you then can learn it, so that you then can teach it.
Yeah.
Well, and that
circle.
transcends just that experience with him. the essence of like communicating your boundaries.
Yeah.
And like, I was going to say, I used to request me time when I was a little kid.
Oh, that's great.
But now I still do.
I love that.
He does.
That's
He
so
just
healthy.
did it. And we said, okay, good.
I love that for you.
Just need to be
Good.
alone for a little bit, do my own thing.
And that's okay.
The whole other element of the queer aspect of like, there is no right, wrong examples that we've grown up with of like how to create a family of your own. And that's why like chosen family is so vital. And
So
like,
vital.
and I was talking to a gentleman last night, actually, who is a father of a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. You know, like he's here for business, and he was like, this is my one night out of the week to like kind of get to have my like gay experience. Obviously, this is not for every parent who is gay or lesbian or queer with children, but it feels like the decision is really rooted in a desire to love them and make sure that it's not taken for granted. And I
Yeah.
think that that's where people who have this messaging that LGBTQ plus people should not be parents, the challenges of making that happen and to continue to make sure that that child is loved is 20 times harder than it
Yeah.
is for a heteronormative
Sure.
relationship. And that's where it's like River is so lucky
Oh,
to
man.
have both of you
Yeah.
as parents, and whatever your next relationships are, those people will be so lucky to have River as a
Yeah.
kid because of all of the work
Yeah.
that you and your ex have been doing to maintain that River feels that love.
Right.
And it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's hard because we're like, we put River down for a nap and then we're suddenly alone in the living room that we built with all the pictures of our family that we built. And it's like, it's really hard, but the beta blockers are working, but I can feel them like, I can feel the tears. But it's really hard. It's horrible. And it's going to take time for us,
Yeah.
but we are on this journey together. We chose to make this journey together. And again, like I love my ex-wife more than anything.
Yeah.
So like hope and positivity is going to like take us a long way.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be all right. In the end, I think we have like an option for like a really happy segmented family that is based around River and River is going to be great,
Yeah.
is great. And I will say, like, to touch on the difficulty of becoming parents, I don't want to lie, because it was not difficult for us.
Oh,
Well-
really? Okay, wait, please elaborate. 'Cause-
I just want to like, I don't want to like, we didn't do in vitro or IVF or
Right.
anything like that. We, the silly story, we found this app called, it's like Tinder for people who are trying to have kids.
Yeah.
What?
Called justababy.com. And there are people who want to carry and people who want to help provide. And you literally just put in what you want. You post a picture of you and your partner, or you by yourself saying, I want to be a solo parent, or I want to be a part-time parent. And you just find people who have the same thing. Some people want to like have a kid a couple days a week and then have someone else take the kid the other. There's a lot. There's everything that is in the realm of parenthood is found on this website. And you like swipe left or swipe right on people. I know, gagged. And there's like language in there that we had to learn. Like there's NIPI and AI. So natural insemination, which is sex.
Okay.
Partial insemination is where the male body does what they do somewhere and then finishes inside
Oh,
of you.
got it. Okay.
And then the last one is artificial insemination, which was the only thing my wife and I were open to at the time.
Okay.
And we met this guy. We looked at his baby pictures. We looked at him in real life. He was really handsome. So we were like, this is great. We love this. And we talked to a couple other people and the vibes were off. But this guy was really nice. And well, originally I did not want to carry. And then
Okay.
we were like, okay, fine, we'll both carry. And then you'll pick someone who looks like me and I'll pick someone who looks like you. And in the end, we decided, let's just pick someone who's kind of in the middle. So there's this fabulous guy from Bangladesh and he is very sweet, very kind. And originally my ex-wife was going to carry. She tried a few times. It didn't take. So I was like, you know what? I'll just
Let's give it a
try.
whirl.
So I can prove to you that it's difficult. And the first time we'd gotten the dates wrong, but the first actual try, I was pregnant 8 days later.
Wow.
Yeah. And it didn't cost us anything. I mean, what cost us the legal paperwork. So that was like $5,000 total.
Okay.
And we paid for his cabs home and some supplements. So maybe like a total of $500 that cost him.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never.
Kevin can attest, usually I'm not speechless, but like, I can't wait to get right on my phone and look at this because that's I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I
that's
know
incredible.
we know a lot of people who are queer and need this kind of like
I tell
option.
everyone I know, especially like
Wow.
there are female bodies who are willing to carry,
Yeah.
who just like are like, yeah, I'm cool. Like just, like you can't legally pay for, in New York City, you can't legally pay for human body parts that include semen.
Sure, okay.
However, like in every state, like there's like
It's different,
ways
yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
And like if you did it in
this way.
like in Massachusetts or whatever,
Sure.
and you can have her carry, whatever. Like it's just different places.
Wow, fascinating.
But yeah, you can just
That's such a good tip.
justababy.com, girl. That's an ad.
Justababy.com.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna try to get a sponsor for this this episode, I guess. That's amazing. Like, how did you find that resource?
I think my ex-wife just like was Googling. Like, it was just
Wow.
through Google. We were finding like,
And saw like reviews or something.
yeah, I think we had started by looking at cryobanks because that was initially
Sure,
our thought.
yeah.
And then one friend specifically offered me his baby batter. I'm talking to you, Adam. And I was
Baby
like,
batter.
yes, my
Okay, baby
fabulous
batter.
little gay friend Adam was like, I can give you some baby batter. And I was like,
When you
I don't think so.
when you put it that way,
Like, no thanks.
I'm like, you're super hot, but now that I know that you say things like that, I don't know. But
what's Adam's name and number?
I
you know?
won't give it to you. He's super hot. He's real cute. But we had like the option to like use some of our friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, I knew if I tried, like,
Yeah.
I kept forgetting, but then I'd remember, like, I'm Puerto Rican. Every woman in my family has been pregnant by the time she was 19. The only reason why I didn't is because,
Right.
mostly.
Yeah.
And so I was like really careful when I was with men and like crazy careful.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, get that spermicide, wear a condom, and I'm on birth control. It's not happening. On good days, if anything happened, like I would still just like pop up morning after just for funsies,
Sure.
even if we used all the
Just to be
protection. Because I'm
as-
like, especially not this one. Especially not this
yeah,
one.
to be as safe as possible. for
Listen, I'll be
sure.
trying.
And that's why reproductive rights are important.
So important. So important. It's healthcare.
Yeah, just to
It's all healthcare, and also this can happen in queer relationships where someone is trans and there's
Yes.
the bodies still make babies no
Yes.
matter what. Like bodies make babies if parts, do the thing.
And this is too like a testament of you knowing within yourself, even though you're going through a whole level of discovery for your own identity, of being like, I'm not at a place where this is something that will be beneficial to yourself
Yeah.
or the kid.
Yeah.
So you're trying to be as on top of it as possible, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I found someone that I feel comfortable doing this with, and I feel good about it
Yeah.
myself. And River is so much better because of it.
Yeah, well, I'll have to send you guys a picture of River because River is the.
Oh, I've seen it.
you
I've
know
seen-
River.
yeah. I've
But
seen
for
pics.
them, for the
Yes,
viewers,
yeah.
so
Oh
they
my
can
gosh,
see what River
please.
looks like, because River's just the cutest thing in the
Yes.
world. And like, I feel so lucky to have had such a cute baby. Because honestly, could you imagine? I'm dead
So
ass.
you can't make
Well, thank
a baby
you.
that's not cute.
I'm super thrilled to be able to have like created that. It was certainly not in my plans. And I honestly, even to this day, I struggle with the fact that I've had an offspring. Like the fact that I made a baby in my body is still really foreign to me.
Whoa, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've never wanted to.
Well, how do you relate to your identity now because of that? Has it changed at all?
I realized like my non-binary energy
Yeah.
because I felt so torn by like all of the mom groups, and it was all just like ladies, mommies, blah blah blah.
Wow, yeah.
And like I was very blessed. This is another tangential story, but I'll tell it quickly. When I first got pregnant, we knew on day 8, right?
Yeah.
I was peeing and I was like, that looks dark. Oh God, wait, no, that means my LH is high. Oh wait, am I pregnant? And then I checked and I was. And then I checked every day for 15 days because I didn't believe it. My ex-wife can attest. I was like, I'm just going to take another pregnancy test because I think it's not real. It's not real. But don't worry, they were pretty inexpensive. And finally we're like, okay, let's get our first appointment. Like it's super early. And we looked for a brown female doctor. And we were like, this is going to be great. It was COVID time. So it was, still like rough. So Libby couldn't come with me. So when I went in, all the office is full of brown-haired, beautiful, pregnant women, white girls who are just like skinny and gorgeous and doing the thing in various states of pregnancy. And I walk in with long, multicolored braids, and I'm very thick, and I'm brown. And they were like, can we help you? And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And they were like, I was like, oh, this is like the place that my insurance told me to come to. And they were like, but how do you have this insurance? Because my ex-wife has the insurance. And I was like, my wife. And they were like, you're on a girl's insurance? And I was like, my wife. But the long story short was, it was a horrible experience. They kept using the term, if you even want it, if it's viable. And I was
Weird.
like, okay, we are in New York City. But because of her, I talked to my therapist, and my therapist and my ex-wife on the same day were like, I found this midwifery called ULA. I walked into ULA the first day. The first thing she goes is, hi, my name is Katie Sigler. My pronouns are she, her. What are yours? I was done. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, I had just started experimenting with they, them, and I was like, she,
Is
they?
giving you the
But
space
just-
to
yeah.
like explore that.
But
and
even the
not just
question, the fact that she
Yes.
asked, I was like, I'm in a safe space. I'm in a real safe space. I feel safe here. And like from that moment on, I knew, and they were just absolutely incredible the entire time.
And now a totally different experience with Kevin and Aaron.
Today we are joined with Kevin and Aaron, and we are talking about queer family. You both are in the process right now of starting your own family. How has that been going? What's that journey like for you?
Well, it's been a long road so far. So we're probably 2.5 years in, and it took a lot of research prior to that, because I think the 2.5 years doesn't even encompass what we looked into beforehand and researching where to do it and how to do it. So, but we're in the final stages now where we're just waiting for successful implantation.
Got
of
it.
our
So
embryos.
when you mean implantation, what is the process that the two of you kind of decided on to try to start having that family? Because I know there's a few different processes that, and not very many options, I guess, really. But for queer people
I mean, for a queer family like us, we really had the two options. We could go through surrogacy or we could go through adoption.
Okay.
And when we kind of started looking at adoption first, just because of the finances of it all,
Yeah.
it's a very expensive process to go through surrogacy. And so we did consider adoption first. And when we started to like contact agencies in Florida, we kind of got the runaround a little bit when we would mention that we were a same-sex couple looking to adopt children. And for us, it just, there were roadblocks that we didn't know had existed still. And so at that point, we decided we would go the route of surrogacy. And in the U.S. Or in the United States, surrogacy, can start at about $150,000. And we were going to make it happen regardless of what the cost was. So we started to get connected with other intended parents that were going through surrogacy, and we found a few clinics around the world that would be able to help us do that. And so we found our current clinic that we're working through, Celigem, and kind of started the process with them. It started with an interview to see if they would accept us into their program. We had to go through a psychological evaluation. We had to do...
And y'all failed.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I was just kidding.
The process is now over. Yes, we had to do a psychological assessment, and then from there we had to do some medical testing to make sure that we were healthy.
Okay.
They look at your sperm count, and so
sure.
for me, that was nothing or something I never considered that I would ever have an issue with. And actually, my test results came back that I had to do a small short-term treatment to boost up my sperm count and the health of your sperm. So after a couple months of doing that, we flew to Colombia to do our sperm donation.
Whoa.
Wow.
Some people watching this what was wrong with adoption? And I just want to expand on that too, because there's regardless of which process you choose, there's issues with both that can arise, and we did have friends that went through the adoption process, and with that comes different scenarios that we really didn't want to put ourselves in, where you can get to the end of an adoption point where you're like buying the car seat, you've got the child's room painted, and last second they're snatched back up by a parent or a family member. And that was kind of something we also talked about and wanted to avoid because we saw friends go through that. It's a very
I can't even imagine.
emotional,
Yeah.
a traumatic experience, and it can happen multiple times.
That's wild because a child exists in a state where you knew the child, and then to not be able and to set up a home for them, and then just know that they're out there in the world. That's heartbreaking a little bit.
Yeah. So I think that was, I just want to touch on that because that was another reason why we wanted to go down the surrogacy path.
What has the process been so far?
So once you're assigned a surrogate, the surrogates are vetted, and you get matched up. You have an interview with the surrogate. Do we approve, disapprove? And we went through the approval process, and like Kevin's egg that we had to get implanted was, it didn't take. So we have to start the whole process over again.
To do an egg retrieval, do the fertilization of the eggs, and then do the testing of the embryos to make sure that they would be healthy embryos to implant. So this round I have 2 now.
Okay, so then that means that if the first egg doesn't take, you have another one. Okay.
But like in Aaron's case, currently he still has his original embryo that, and he went through 2 surrogates to get to this place that he's at in his process, where when they start to prepare the surrogate to receive the embryo, they begin hormone treatments. And
okay. And that's to up the chances of the take being successful.
Correct. Yeah. So what it does is, not to get too medical, but it builds up the uterine wall to receive the embryo, so it'll attach itself. And so they do a lot of testing with the surrogate to ensure that the uterine wall is building up like it's supposed to. And in 2 cases for Aaron, it just wasn't happening. So they kind of put a pause on Aaron's process to find him a new surrogate. And so he just got matched yesterday with a new surrogate.
Yeah.
And so I'm still on the waiting list for mine.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of see where the process goes from here.
Now you're kind of going through finding new surrogates. Do you get a say in, okay, well, you have yours, but you don't have yours yet, but you want to wait to have the kids around the same time? Or is it one of those things where now it's like your timeline goes ahead and yours will happen when the next surrogate happens?
The clinic itself will try to get as close, knowing that we have a dual track, to get them close together as possible.
Okay, so while we were on the Christmas market cruise, there's a social trend of couples that are going to be welcoming or currently have kids, wherever you're traveling, you say, "Hey kids, it's your dads," or "Hey kids, it's your moms," or "Hey kids, it's your parents."
Hey kids, it's your dad.
Hey kids, it's your dads at the Berlin Wall. Hey kids, it's your dads.
Hey kids, it's your dads.
Don't wait for me.
And then you create this montage of video, basically
Just showcasing your parents before they had you as a child. Yeah.
Maybe something for like an 18th birthday.
Exactly. It's like
a surprise.
Because then they see how you've changed over time, and maybe they'll see like how much they've aged you, I guess. So they can be like, "Wow, our parents looking young and fun and fresh."
What happened?
No, you guys are gonna still look great. We're gonna be literal daddies. It's like Kevin's dream. Did living in Florida also play a factor into deciding between adoption and surrogacy?
No, I don't think that came into play. I think, moreover, raising the children in Florida is going to be a decision.
Yeah, that's been more of the conversation that we've been having. What does our family look like if we are planning our family to live in Florida?
Got it.
It is definitely something that we've been hesitant about, and kind of hesitant in considering what that will look like.
Sure.
It's funny because we talk about, being in our bubble. We're in Orlando, we're in a blue area. And so we don't always necessarily see or feel what's happening around our state. And
Yeah, I mean, the biggest impact, obviously, we have the attack on transgender rights.
Yeah.
And then coupled with that is the curriculum attacks in the schools. And I think that's where we are like,
Yeah.
I mean, even they have the Don't
concern.
Say Gay bill.
Yeah.
So it's like,
They set
okay,
up
can our
for
kids
bullying.
even talk about our
their
dads?
family. Yeah, their
So,
family,
and if
yeah.
that's not the case, then it's not a safe environment.
Is there a struggle that comes with knowing like, okay, like once the kids are here, like we're not going to be able to travel as much, or we're not going to be able to like go to the gay clubs at like 11 p.m. on whenever we want, and it doesn't matter, you know, like, is there an aspect of that feels scary, or is it just like, no, we get to then have our kids and that's kind of like the next phase and that's what feels good?
yeah, I think we're ready for that next phase of our life. Aaron and I also...
You tired?
I'm just, people are like, wait till you have kids, you're going to be tired then. But I think we're ready to like slow
Sure.
down. But we've been very fortunate to both of our careers up into this point have allowed us to experience and travel far beyond
Yeah.
what
right.
the average person gets to. And we've also used the benchmark of the kids to be like, hey, do we do this or not? We probably should in case.
You mean it while you're this age kind of thing? Your
Yeah.
thought about
Well, I think
And I have a tip for anybody out there that, sorry to cut you off again, but
Give us the tip.
no, travel now. We experience so many times like people that wait, and you know, the body can fail you, and you may not be able to have the opportunity to do some of the things.
Yeah,
That's great advice.
There's some guests that are on our trips that we get to these remote destinations that they've been looking forward to for a long time, and they're a little older, and they can't do some of these activities because they're just like, I can't do that. I might hurt myself, or like, you know, it's like this work hard to like get to experience the thing of what you wanted to experience, but you can't experience it to the fullest.
Sure.
And so I agree with you in that way. It's like travel while.
So if you debated buying a VACAYA trip, do it now.
Yes, you should travel now and experience all of those things. And Aaron and I have been very fortunate with our jobs and, you know, being VT members. We have done and seen so much of the world, more than I think when we first met we could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
How is travel in your lives now gonna change when you become parents?
When I consider kids, people ask us that question: are you ready for that next phase of your life? You know, everything is going to change, and when things are going to change, you know, we can't just pick up and go anymore. But I'm still under the belief that the best education that we'll be able to give our kids is to travel. And I don't think that is going to be something that changes for us. It will look different. It will feel different. It will probably be more hectic. And
Oh my no, but like the thought of getting to share the world with your children and getting to then, you know, see what the world looks like in their eyes and that perspective, I'm sure is like, it's
and to bring them to the places that we've been.
yeah, totally.
You know, in the Hey Kids, It's Your Dads, it will be amazing to kind of recreate some of these videos where we're together as a family and show them these spots and the things that we've learned and the things that we've seen. I think that'll be the best education that we can give them. So the travel aspect of our life, it'll be different, but that won't change.
Energy. 3, 2, 1.
Hey kids, it's your dads. Hey kids, it's your gunkles.
I know you mentioned earlier that you don't necessarily want to have kids, but if you were to have kids, have you ever thought about what your potential baby names would be?
I feel like Sky is a good name for like a boy if I had a boy, or
Okay. That makes me a little excited
why?
because recently I've thought about the names Dawn and Dusk. Dusk is the boy's name and Dawn is the girl's name. And that's also like a sky. It's just a period of time during the day. But isn't that such a good, like,
Dawn and dusk.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I even like the idea of like going full ethereal with him, calling like a child Moon
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. I also love
Moon.
I also love the name Dorothy, and I feel like Dorothy is one of those older names that just
Yes.
hasn't made a comeback yet.
I mean, even Apple. Apple's like a cute name.
And I remember when Gwyneth named her baby Apple and people were like, what the heck? I love Dorothy because one, friends with Dorothy, and two, Kevin knows this, but like I love the abbreviation name of Dot. I think Dot is so cute. So when they're a baby, you can call them Dot. And then when they're older, they're Dorothy. And then when they're a grandma, they're Grandma Dottie. Like it's a perfect lifespan of a name. So advocating for Dorothy to become a name again that is in the mainstream, because also like who doesn't want to
Queer
be a friend
icon,
of
Dorothy.
who doesn't want to be a friend of Dorothy, you know?
Exactly.
And we hope that you have enjoyed this week's episode of VTV. Make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us to make sure that you are always in the know of all things VACAYA.
Bye.